never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi guys, welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today is another fantastic day because I get to talk to Jay Staples. Jay, like me, is a man who is out there to make this world a better place because he has been in the darkness. He has tried to drown his sorrows and had to figure out that these little critters swim so they don't drown very well. So here we are. We both are now out there to share some of the lessons that we had to learn the hard way. So therefore, it's going to be pretty much a very interesting discussion. Jay, I'm very glad to have you on my show. Welcome.
Well, honored to be here. I'm excited. Anytime we talk about me and hope at the same time, I'm excited. So I'm open, I'm transparent, and so anything that people hear in my background or us two talking, I hope if we can just change one person's life. That's all you can do every single day. So I'm excited to be here.
Touché, brilliant. Wow. When did your love affair or hate affair with alcohol start?
Oh, I mean, I would tell you that it was in college when I was 18 years old, my first night in college, but just whether the brain is a tricky thing. And so the brain kind of wants to trick you. And so there was some pill abuse in high school or something. I never drank alcohol, but I was looking for something other than, what it felt like to be me. And so the first time I really kind of showed signs was the very first night in college, passed out and kind of made a fool of myself. And but yeah, it was going on into late teens and went all the way into early 30s. So it started when I was 18, quickly escalated because I knew looking back on it, I was so desperate to get outside of myself as a kid. If for whatever reason they introduced drinking or whatever to me earlier, I probably would have started doing it when I was 5, 6 years old or something. Because I just never felt comfortable with who I was.
With hindsight, did you ever figure out the reasons or the things that led to you not feeling comfortable in yourself?
Yeah, I just you have my family is amazing. I'm the youngest of 3. I got 2 older brothers, and typical older brother stuff. And they always had my back, but they were probably my 2 biggest critics. And whether trying to get on the basketball court or the backyard football game, I mean they probably were a little rougher with their younger brother, and sometimes didn't want to include little Jay running around trying to be like their big brothers. But and a successful dad. I couldn't tell you at a young age. I can tell you like when I got into my mid-teens and kind of going into college, like there was this thought of I just projected everyone else's thoughts, opinions, beliefs, into me, and started thinking. I started living according to other people, like what the girl I was trying to ask to prom, what she would like, how would she like me to dress, and what would she like me to say, and my mom and dad, like what do they want me to do? So, and we're always playing. I was wanting the projection of what others wanted, and I never got to know who Jay truly authentically was. So I think that was the biggest thing.
Oh, fuck me. I got flashbacks here. I was saying exactly the same thing. I remember saying that to a girlfriend. Who do you want me to be? I remember that when I was, 13, 12, 13, 14. My goodness. Okay, we don't just have the same haircut, man. Okay. But then again, isn't that the journey that every teenager takes? Which teenager is happy in their skin? My goodness, it's very rare that we see that nowadays, for sure. And nowadays we've got names for it, like anxiety disorder and things like that. I think 1 or 2 generations back, that you were just you, and you tried to make the most out of it. Man, God. when you had the first drink, can you actually remember that, or were you so passed out that that the whole thing was gone?
Man, no, I mean so I went down to. I grew up in Wisconsin, which is the Midwest in the United States, and went down to Mississippi with the good old boys. And I remember, looking out the dorm room, watching my dad drive away, who drove me down, and that was really kind of. I just remember having this. I'm free and I'm scared to death, and it wasn't about 5 minutes later, hooting and hollering happened. Everyone was down in the lobby of I think every floor had a lobby, and everyone was sitting around a table and hooting and hollering, and it was probably 4 PM. They started playing drinking games, and this boy from Wisconsin wanted to fit in desperately. Walked down casually, introduced myself, and they asked me my name and where I'm from and if I drank, and of course I was never going to be authentic. Like, no, I don't drink. Sorry. It's heck yeah, and sat down, and I still remember the very first one, choked it down, woke up the next morning, passed out with no clothes on, with markers and inappropriate things, written all over my face and body. And, it was an ongoing joke. And so I remember it clear as day. And I remember that feeling of remorse the very next, it wasn't had one beer, nothing happened. So I went down, fit in desperately, passed out really, really quick. And they screwed with, they had fun and we laughed, and I was the butt of jokes for probably a whole year. People would always tell that story, but, I rose up, and I remember, in fact, I remember the first drink, and I also remember the very first conversation I had with myself alone saying, Jay, don't be a fool. Either don't drink and stay away from everyone, or go in and learn how to drink. And so I went down, conned someone into buying me a 12-pack because I was still underage at that time. And I sat in the park in the middle of the courtyard of the university and just started drinking 12-packs and basically forcing myself, because I thought, this is what cool looks like. This is what everyone wants. And, we sat down and played that very second night, pretty much probably the same games. I sat in the same seat and ended up passed out in the same bed with no clothes on again. So I certainly started here and, kind of rose and, then made it all the way to being that guy that, so miles and miles away from who I truly authentically was. But, if you ask people that know me back at university days, they'll tell you what Jay is, and Jay's this and Jay's that, and completely different, Jay that I am now. And alcohol and drugs probably took that away. But I was whatever you wanted me to be back in university times. And so, recovery alone, when I got sober in 2008, it was, that miles of being who I authentically am. So it's been that journey. I remember everything. I remember the first time stuff went up my nose and I drank, and the internal conversations, the shame, the guilt, the loneliness, the anger, no real joy, no peace.
Interesting.
I remember all that.
Interesting. Because typically you get something out of the use. You get a buzz. I remember in my case a very positive experience. And in all fairness, we were a very different society in Germany. Maybe I was lucky that I was in groups of people throughout my teenager years and later on, which took care of each other. When we were drinking in university times, I ended often up being the guy who's looking after others who had too much. And I damn well make sure that I look after them. And if it was a girl, make sure that her hair was back when she vomited, kind of stuff, we would not take any kind of advantage of a drunk person. That was just so not us. So maybe I was very lucky, or maybe unlucky, because had I had such negative connotations, negative feelings attached to it, maybe I would have not gone down. So if there was nothing positive for you, what made you keep going back for more?
Well, I mean, I was in the in crowd. I mean, people knew my name, whether they, knew me for, negative connotation or whatever it may be. Like for a guy so desperate to get outside of self, anyone calling my name is, so I think you're exactly right. I mean, there wasn't a positive kind of reward right at the end, but there was a lot of shame. But I was in the in crowd. I mean, I went from knowing no one to a couple of days, like everyone knocking on my door. I mean, and again, I was the butt of jokes for the. We talk about this. Like I remember just sitting around talking to the guys, and even the ones I talked to today. They still know me for those first couple of nights when I was passed out and they drew and so forth. So like we joke even right after that, like I probably wouldn't have talked to you if you weren't the one that was passed out. So I think it in my twisted view, it allowed me to make friends and be popular. And,
I hear you.
It definitely took me outside of self. So, I don't remember much about what was said, so I think that was the positive.
Cool. No, it makes sense, man. This is at that moment in time, the alcohol gave you something. The alcohol actually provided a benefit. Often it is less pain. Often there is something positive with it, but even just fitting in for someone who is so uncomfortable within their own skin is huge, and we can't underestimate that desire to belong into the in crowd or into any crowd for that matter. No, that's a really, really good point you're making there. It doesn't need to be the extremes of plus and minus. It can just be, okay, finally I'm fitting into somewhere. Wow. Did the alcohol help you then throughout the studies? Did it, I mean, when you're constantly passed out, that typically doesn't make you the best student. How did that continue?
No, I mean, we sit here today and the delusional, like on paper, there was nothing but negativity that happened in my university days. Like the grades were god awful, on the verge of getting kicked out and weaving in and out, kind of, making one last dash to take tests and grades just to stay, the ability to have my dad pay more money to go, like I was a disaster. If you look at it on paper, there was nothing good coming out of it. But, you could tell me that I'm having the best year of my life. And, I think, it's a domino effect. And, here I'm thinking that this is my life. And, if I'm throwing away, a life, it's mine. And, my family's played a huge part. And so I think my family kind of just sat back and said, let Jay just kind of go find himself. They probably were very disgusted and, the stories, and I was spending money and, like they would get the letters and the grades and, like Jay may not be invited back and just all this other stuff. And I mean, I threw away, got kicked out of, school, got, jumped around schools, went to work for my dad. I mean, there's nothing, positive, but you could tell me like, I'm having the best life. I'm living life. I'm getting in a little bit of trouble. But people love me. People scream my name. I can go out and talk to the girls, which I couldn't do sober. And, when I'm 20, 21 years old, like I could run into myself and not recognize, who I was. Cause I was completely, everything, everyone, every place that you wanted, that I thought you wanted me to be, and trying to fit in. I had the group of these, and and spend one night. Then I'd go over to a whole new group and whole new sometimes bar, and so I had like 7 different groups of friends that depending on whoever I wanted to do or what I could get from them, I could fit into that group. I can go to that group, but they never really mixed, and I was really busy being other people's characters, and I was throwing my life away. So there was a negative, looking back on it, we can say there's all negative. In the moment, I'm just telling you, like, I'm living life. I may be,
Absolutely.
screwing up a little bit, but I thought I was living life. So, I thought I was happy as can be.
For a young man, that is often enough a badge of honor. This kind of behavior, this is not only expected, but also rewarded to a certain degree. And in your case, the reward was you fit into different crowds. Of course, often enough, you are the butt of the jokes. And that's of course the grading and the not so nice part of it. Wow. Were you studying already in advertisement, or what were you actually studying?
So, I was bouncing in marketing, and then I had aspirations of being a professional golfer and playing golf or teaching golf or something like that. And so there was this healthy balance between, golf and, marketing and business management and all number of different things. My dad had his own little agency up back in Wisconsin. So that's what tipped me onto with advertising. Marketing. So really anything creative and golfing, if there could be drinking involved in it, that's really all I was looking for at that point. So, yeah.
Well, and that would have been the 90s thereabouts. And of course, advertising and drinking, that is, love and marriage, basically. It goes along. So you chose certainly not the driest of all professions.
Amazing occupation, an amazing occupation if you had an addiction.
My goodness. Okay. So what happened? Why did you suddenly stop?
Everyone, I think I really need to get an answer to that question, because everyone wants to know, how did you stay sober? And how, because I got sober through. So I had plenty of opportunities with treatments and therapists and getting on planes and seeing, world renowned, whatever it may be. And, life was good. I would teeter to being top of my profession to almost homeless and everything in between. And, there was just everything. I mean, the law got in the way, the health issues got in the way, the family issues got in the way, the relationship issues got in the way, the personal, I was a dumpster fire. And so in October 2008, I once again got arrested for DUI. I was out in California living at the time. My middle brother was out in California at the time too, and it was just one of those disastrous things. And for whatever reason, I think somehow, some way, my middle brother got in touch with the arresting officer, they called or something, and just said, your son, your brother's being arrested. We're going to take him to, outside LA County, because this guy will, I'm running my mouth, and because I'm unstoppable, and this guy's going to get killed if we drop him off at the LA County jail. And so they took me north, and all these different little things that kind of, angels on our shoulders. And my brother once again came out and, bailed me out. And, I had numerous other DUI arrests, and for whatever reason, Los Angeles County didn't want to look at my record and thought it was just my first DUI. And so there was probably a good chance I was doing jail time. And so we just fast tracked it. And, so it went down as my first DUI in California. And, when they finally got it fixed, I was in long-term treatment. And so they finally said, like, hey, like, if he stays in treatment, we'll knock it down. And so there's all these different things. Like, I should have been in jail for 12 plus years with all the stuff that I did and got caught, and, just a series of events. So I just remember, I don't know what it was, but, October 19th, 2008, I woke up that one day, just, miserable and coming off another run, and just looked around, and there was nothing left in the apartment, and there was nothing left in my life. And I'm just like, and I still remember, I joke, but I said, well, if I need to change, God, like, send a sign. And it wasn't about 5 minutes later, my mom knocked on the door, and she doesn't even live in California, or and she was worried about me because I must have talked with her that night. And so she jumped on planes, and I had the DUI arrest. And so they knew that my life was once again going south heavily. And so I think there was some fear that I was going to, end it all and just kind of do whatever. And so they got together and, asked me to go to treatment, long-term place. And that was really, I wasn't going to say it out loud, but there was a different feeling just in that conversation. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't acknowledging. I wasn't, anything. I just said yes, whatever. I mean, I remember just saying yes, 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 yes. And that's completely unlike me. I need to state my case. I need to let people know how important I am. I fight with my family saying like, hey, I'm going to choose the place and all this, So I was just yes, 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 yes. We went, and there's just something about it. There was a different feeling. I think I had finally come to the realization, like, if I wanted to continue living, like the way that I was doing it, I wasn't going to live much longer. And I seriously thought that I should have been in jail. And so they still kept that hanging over my head. And so I thought maybe I'd go to jail, maybe I wouldn't, but it definitely felt different from all the other times that I swore that I would stop. And it did, and it stuck. And everything that's happened since October 08 has been a journey unlike any others. But I don't know what it was in that October 08. I think it was just the perfect storm of the, what they call sunlight of the spirit, and my vulnerability meeting at the same time inside my heart, and knowing that I needed to change. And
then someone knocking on the door, someone who truly unconditionally loves you. And I think that's where mummies and daddies have still got their role, regardless how old their offsprings are, their litter is. Oh man. Wow. I'm so pleased for you that you came to that point. It took a lot of suffering, probably, with hindsight. But I remember that feeling of peace when you the first time surrender, and when you the first time actually stop fighting. And that is beautiful. That is a wonderful thing, when you just accept that it's time to change. But prior to that, we are denying things. Denial is the hallmark of alcoholism, of addiction. 95% of people who drink dangerously or drink far too much will tell you on the grave of their grandmother, nope, there's nothing wrong with me. And you, brother, and I, we were both in the same freaking boat. Despite the fact that the waves are crashing into the boat and there's heaps of holes in the boat. No, I'm good. I know it all. You sound like me, man. Far out. When you went into treatment, what kind of treatment was that?
Well, it was inpatient drug and alcohol treatment. You stayed 9-10 months in one place.
Wow.
It's a ranch out in Texas. And for this city surfer boy, like I was not a ranch guy or anything like that. I mean, it's still in Dallas, Texas, just outside Dallas. I still live in Dallas, Texas to this day. I mean, so there's a lot of things that are in play. But it was designed. I mean, it was just everything. I mean, everything, when I look back, just lined up. I mean, there was, if I would have went to a 30-day place, I probably would not have, stayed sober. If I would have went somewhere else, I probably wouldn't have stayed sober. If the fancy places with the massages and all that. I mean, I was surrounded by dogs and horses and stuff. So
I didn't know that there was someone will give you a massage, but bloody hell, where's that?
Yeah. There are all kinds of them. So
okay. Well, no, you're going into rehab to actually, first of all, stop drinking, get yourself through a withdrawal, and then you get your head screwed back on with the right guidance and with the right support from people who have been there, done that, and have vomited on the t-shirt. And that is what a good rehab is all about. We should talk about that very quickly for the people listening out there. I've just done the third edition of My Steps to Sobriety, which is coming out probably by the time we've got this interview going out. It will be on the market, and I've just reviewed basically the different rehabs that are out there. And ultimately, there are so many different forms and different schools of thought. There is no one right, no one wrong. There's the classic 28 days, 1 month. And the only reason that it is that time frame, because that traditionally was the maximum that an insurance company would have paid for. So therefore, that's where 28 days comes from. So that doesn't mean to say that everyone has to be sober by 28 days. So what you're saying is so 100% true. At the same token, you can make a hell of a lot of advance in 28 days, or 3 weeks. I know a rehab here which uses different methodology and is getting successes with that. So, having said that, if you have been a staunch drinker, well, I'm sorry, the first week and maybe 2 weeks are not so nice, because that's called withdrawal. Did you have withdrawals? Did you have a bit of a rough time coming off?
I mean, I don't think it was all that bad. I mean, it wasn't the worst one that I had, and it wasn't. I think it had a lot. I mean, I was beaten down. I was broken. I was in literally millions of different pieces, and so like there was actually a feeling of, I deserve this and so forth. So I don't remember the detox being all that much.
Good.
I just remember being shattered, and knowing that it's going to take a while for me to even close to be back together. But my head, like you said, was screwed on straight. Like it was still crooked for several more months after. I mean, I was looking out of my ear holes sometimes, but staying sober, and that's all it took. So
yeah. I mean, I was 4 weeks in rehab. My rehab was very structured. It started with regular habits, i.e. eating and getting up in the morning. But then my day was covered with sessions, with really powerful, insightful, beautiful recovery work. When you say you've been 9 months on a ranch, and I certainly have spoken to one of my fellow inmates. She was 9 months on a ranch. She was basically slave labor. They picked peppers and cucumbers and whatever else for the whole of the week. And then on Saturday morning, they had 2 hours of what they called rehab. So hang on. So that's apples and oranges. How was your ranch life?
I mean, it was, I guess I gotta say, beautiful after hearing that story. I mean, this was a typical, Texas ranch. And so you woke up, you had morning chores that you had to do before, you had breakfast, you cooked. There was no chef, but so you cooked breakfast and lunch, and, groups started at 9 a.m., went through like 4 p.m. So you're in groups the majority of the day. And then, one night a week, you're cooking for the whole community. And for a guy that all he could do was make reservations, I learned how to even cook. The biggest thing, they taught us a morning routine, and they taught us an evening routine, and they taught us life skills, and they got us a lot of groups. We were certainly not slave. I mean, this was a true rehab in every aspect of the word.
Nice.
Yeah. So Yeah, it's stuff that I still take today.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And what stood out in your story there, they taught you life skills. And that's so important because often enough, we run through life and we somehow make do. But there are so many people who are not able to cook, who wouldn't know how a kitchen garden looks like, and so on, who don't know how to balance a checkbook, and so on and so on. It is so important. There's so many skills that you actually have to learn to even live, not just make huge successes, but actually live. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And the habits that people instill in you, because you have got habits. They're just all the wrong ones. Yeah, so the ones that are probably dragging you more to your old life.
A lot of us could cook certain things that were not healthy, but we couldn't cook like a healthy meal. Like, it was the ongoing joke about, like, a lot of us were manufacturing like illegal substances and doing it very well and had it like highly organized. And then, you tell us to cook a meatloaf and mashed potatoes for the community. And you're like, what? I don't know what that means. And so it was Excellent. The ongoing joke a lot of times. It was, we cooked a lot, but it wasn't, you didn't want to eat any of the things. So.
Oh, priceless. From meth cook to chef.
That's going to be me. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. I don't think I want to try your earlier things.
No, you don't. You might end up in jail or dead. Yeah.
Shit. But then again, you were a lucky boy because that was all the time. That was basically prior to 2008. So it was still the time of OxyContin. It was still the time of basically not as much adulteration of substances, not like the scourge of the fentanyls, the carfentanil and whatever kind of shit now is on the market that kills scores of people. My goodness. Whenever there are drugs involved, alcohol is one thing. When the drugs get involved, gangs get involved. How did you keep yourself safe? How did you become part of a gang?
No, I wanted to say that I was this bad, guy and so forth. Alcohol for me was majority, and then some other things. And there's some stories. I got shot at and got hit in the ankle on a ricochet. I got some other things. I got ran over by a car, but nothing happened because I was under the influence. Little stuff like this that are miracles, and I brushed right by and like, oh yeah.
How many guardian angels did you go through?
You know what? When I go up and see the pearly gates, I think that, the God or, whoever in charge of the pearly gates is going to be like, you owe us, overtime because we put like 100 extra, angels on just you.
Oh, wow.
That's we sit here today and I love talking about the past. It's, those guardian angels. And there's so many times when I thought, like, why? Like, it would have been so much easier if I would have just died, if I would have done this, or if the gun was, pointed, 6 inches up, like I probably wouldn't be here. Or the car, like if, ran right here, and if it's up here and crushes my head, like there was a lot of like, why, and to sit here laughing with you, talking about hope and freedom, and it's like it brings me back. I love talking about it because it just is a grateful reminder. Like there was a reason why it all. I certainly probably had more angels than a lot of people. But for whatever reason, there's a story to be told, and my story hasn't ended yet. And maybe it ends tonight, but up until this point, I went from wasting my life and letting other people, write my life story until like in 2008, like it honestly was, taking the pen, away from everyone's hands and owning the pen and starting to write my own life story. And that's the biggest, you see what's the difference is it's like when I started owning my story, instead of being ashamed of my story. And
Yeah.
you know, you and I can talk and we can laugh about, you know, all the angels and all the, you know, cooking of illegal substances. And sometimes I tell that to people at a dinner table, or they're like, "Well, what?" You know, and I'm like, "Oh, you know, I shouldn't have said that. I apologize." You know, so I'm open with anyone. You know, but yeah, I think I'm probably owed a big invoice when I get up to the pearly gates, because I think I sent some angels over time.
Absolutely. Having said that, I want to suggest to you a different image. I think someone saw a lot of how would you say that? I'm now lacking the right word. Promise, I guess. Someone saw a lot of promise in you. And if there is a God, I'm not so sure about that, but if there is a God, they might have just invested significant time because they knew that by persevering and by investing in that project, they will create a beacon of hope. They will create a beacon of light that maybe will just shine strong enough to get into the darkness of others. Because that's really what you are. You have been outspoken, you've been incredibly transparent, you've been honest, which honors me hugely, because one of the biggest things that we do in addiction is we hide. We're written by shame and guilt, hide our behavior, and you and I have made a promise to ourselves, and we to change our life, to actually share our suffering, to share those kind of insights that we had to learn the hard way, so that others maybe get the hope and the help that they need. And I think that is so beautiful. For that, I'm proud. I'm not proud of some of the things I maybe have done in the past. That's a different story. But without that, I wouldn't be the man who I am today. And I'm by far not perfect. Let's not even go there. That's yes. I'm work in progress. Okay.
Yeah.
Man at work, kind of thing. But no, that's beautiful. I mean, so there you were. How you were 9 months on the range there. That I say range because I like shooting.
Yeah, no, you did.
Ranch.
Range, ranch, whatever it is. It was out of nowhere. I mean, it was out of nowhere, nonetheless.
But then what? So where was the money coming in from that at that time? I mean, such a facility is not cheap. I mean, they were what? I mean, I paid 27,000 for a month. So you did 9 months. Well, that's a whole family home.
Yeah, thank you, Mom and Dad. You know, they, you know, it's there's, I would not have been, I mean, who knows what the story would have been written like, but you know, my mom and dad, you talk about the promise, you talk about seeing the potential. My mom and dad were always in the front row when it comes to mainly my mom. She believes that there's something above us, and she loves them and preaches and still sends me daily emails every single morning. But you know, so she was praying extra hard. She took it personal. She questioned her parenting style and whatever it may be.
Of course.
So, but
of course,
they were on the first row, and you know, if I needed anything, you know, and it was 2 or 3 years after I remember sitting around a Thanksgiving table, you know, with my whole family, and you know, I'm Uncle Fun at that point because I got 4 nephews and a niece, and 2, you know, they're all. So I got this big family that you know have never seen me do anything other than my brothers and my mom and dad, and somehow we started talking about how much that they spent on my treatment, and you know, like there was some shame that crept in, and you know, there was, you know, whatever, and I still remember my dad said, I don't remember the total amount, but it was worth every single penny to have him right here today in the position, and that still gives me goosebumps, you know, talking about it. But that in itself, when I heard that from my dad, who values money and was, you know, somewhat successful, obviously, but you know, for him to say it was worth every single penny for what when I'm looking at today. And that was 3 years sober. And, that conversation and those goosebumps that was 3 years sober, and it's projected into coming up on 15 years sober here. And that's in probably 2 weeks. So that conversation, we always talk about what, the conversations, that got you sober or something. That was at a crucial time. Like, I still didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was 3 years sober. I was like folding, shirts, still kind of getting supported by my dad through rent and stuff, because I couldn't afford a lot. But, he just said, like, stay sober, keep doing what you're doing. I had an incredible accountability group, a group of, I call them old timers, and, old crabby guys that I love dearly. And, they held me accountable. They taught me what it looked like to be show up in recovery and show up for other people. But I didn't really know much of anything. Like, life really didn't take on new meaning. I just knew that my life was different, but I still was getting connected with myself. I was still finding all kinds. And then that conversation just hit, like, it's worth every penny. And I remember it was just Thanksgiving, and just this wave of, it's going to be all right. There's something about, like, and it propelled me. Like, right around that time, I started going back and getting, life coach certified and recovery coach certified and intervention certified. And, I became fascinated with how people think. And I became just overwhelmed with, what we were doing. And, we were losing people. We've continued to lose people, more and more people as the years are gone. And so it was right about that time when I remember saying, like, there's only one thing that really gets my soul jumping, and that's to help other people that are less fortunate or whatever it was. And so I started working at a treatment center right about that time. Got hired on the spot at a treatment center, fell in love with doing some community groups and taking people and sitting down with them, sitting down with people that are in detox and, saying you don't have to live like this. And I just became fascinated and just loved it. And it wasn't even a job. And, little stuff like that, you'd always hear, like, find something that doesn't feel like a job. And I'm just like, that's insane. Like, it's always going to feel like a job. And then you start working in this treatment center, and they're like, Jay, you got to go home. Like, you got too much overtime. And I'm like, no. I clocked out 5 hours ago. I just want to do, and I'm doing it on my free time because I'm just passionate, because there's a line of people that won't let me leave, and they just want to steal 5 minutes of my time. And so, I get off at 3 and I'm still there at like 7:30, just kind of, sitting down with guys. And, I walking out, like, I don't, you're elevating. I mean, you're on this pink cloud, and, finally it hits you like, oh, this is what they mean by find something that doesn't feel like a job. So, and it's, living my life every day since then. It was, I love these. I mean, I'm just grateful to have these conversations with another person. So, I mean, thank you for striking chords within me, because, like, all these questions, my mind races. And so to pick one of the 5 things racing through my head to tell you it's striking all the right chords.
But it is a calling, isn't it? And I think that is when you look at the 12-step program, for example, it describes basically a start. The first 3 ones are really giving in and realizing that you need help. And then you go through this journey, like a hero's journey in a film. And you come out at the end at step 12, and step 12 is giving back. Step 12 is about having had such an amazing journey that now you can't shut up and actually tell others about it. And that is the beautiful thing. And I guess that is where I feel the successful ones among us, should feel a call of duty to go out there and speak up, and be maybe there as an example. making living amends. You don't have to speak out. You don't have to shout out from the rooftops, hey, I'm an addict. No, but you can just show integrity, authenticity, all the leadership skills that you could read in any good book. Well, that's really what would describe your and my life now. Yeah, from now and then we fall off the path and we sort of meander a little bit. But ultimately, because of our past, we typically find much easier back to the center. And when I say fall off the path, doesn't mean to say that you snore a line of cocaine or that you get seriously pissed, but you might fall into the same traps with cross addiction. So this time you're basically going for the sugar. And there's not enough cheesecake in this world. And that's still something I'm struggling with. It is when I'm full of stress and I eat something, I go, thank you. So it's that kind of a thing. So cross addiction is a very real thing for, I think, many of us. It just so happens that you, Jay, and I know about it and have experienced it and recognize what is happening at that moment in time, whilst many others have no clue. And again, here we are talking about it honestly, and it's beautiful because we can do things. We can establish habits. We can take little actions every single second because we've got all the same amount of seconds in our life. It is, or in our, shall I say, in our day. How many days we have? That's a completely different story. But we have got opportunities that are there at any one moment, and we can choose what we do. And that is a very powerful thing. Even if your life is shit and you feel like a victim now, you can still take back the power. You can still take back control. And that's exactly what you have been saying earlier, Jay. You are nowadays living a life that is absolutely focused and intentional, not in a pressured or negative way, but in a positive way. You are taking action. Give us some examples. What makes your day nowadays very different to the days that you had experienced, let's say, as a younger man?
Well, I think I take Jay out of it most of my days, and sometimes you talked about cheesecake and all that. I mean, like I still sometimes buy something when I'm feeling down, or I call that girl when I'm feeling down that I have no business talking to, or cheesecake. But for the most part, like I have a pretty routine day, somewhat boring day. A lot of people would joke that, and that's unheard of for me because I'm not organized in the least. But to wake up and do the same thing every single morning, and research and look into better ways to get connected with your thoughts and your minds, and slowing my mind down, and getting outside of self, and embracing the present moment, which is unheard of for me because I've always been a big picture guy. And it's just little small habit changes that would mean the world to me. So if you're comparing the two, it's night and day, quite frankly. And when I get on that phone or sit down with a session, or I talk with you, or talk with someone else, it's just to be fully present and to be authentically communicating, and not already have the response in the holster, and not try to get something out of that person. So I live very selfish and self-centered, like it says in one of our books, and that was exactly me. And just the fact that you have a family that calls, and that desperation, or that client's desperation, or you sit down with someone that you're going through the work with in the book, that desperation, or you have just a number of different things, like from the meetings to the calls to the morning routine to the evening routine. And I still think about me a lot. Went from thinking about Jay 100% in the old days to probably 91%. I made 9% change, but I mean, to me that's night and day. We joke, but to get outside of self, and just to morning meditation, evening reviews has been little stuff that I thought was just the childish things that I go through and preach to people that that I counsel or talk with or work with, and so my day is it just feels normal. Like if you look at it, like people that don't know me is like, you have a really routine day. Like you do the same thing and you never really sleep in on the weekends. And, it's like, it doesn't register because like I get up and I instantly go do certain things. Like I don't even thank God, because my mind's not even, able to trick me saying like, no, stay in bed. No, go do, so it's just automatic. And to do those things and stay in the present. It's tremendously night and day. I mean, night and day is actually an insult too. Like I lived hungover, high and selfish to, scared to death, paralyzed with fear, and getting into recovery is new opportunities and like like 15,000 doors anytime you wake up. I mean, like just pick a door and walk through it and know that like the sky's the limit for you. It's like if you have some change, your thoughts change and habit changes and start getting away from the things that are negatively impacting. Like they always told me, like if you get sober, you'd have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I always wanted to give the middle finger to them and say, like, there's no chance. And they were underselling it. A life beyond your wildest dreams. It's like literally anything you want to do, go do. And there's nothing holding you back. So I'm grateful for that.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. But often enough, people sort of say, "What a bullshit." And I call a little bit bullshit to both your and my story as well, because they are not always days that are like that. Do I still have anxiety attacks or waves of anxiety washing over me? Most definitely, because life is not pretty. Life is full of challenges, and sometimes the challenges can just mount to one tsunami of shit heading your way. What do you do when you can't even think straight because you're so ratty and so full of adrenaline and cortisol washing over you?
So I get outside of self, and I pick up a phone and tell, like, my thoughts are just dangerous. I mean, quite frankly, still probably to this day. And so I've really gotten in the habit of, luxury of working for myself, I guess. I have a staff that probably thinks that their boss thinks is, probably serious, needs to be in a mental hospital or something. But so those times when I'm having thoughts, like I hopefully have felt it coming on. There's times I get paralyzed with fear. There's times I get, red in the face, full of resentment. And, there's quickly opportunities to exit all that. And that's just talking through more often than not than when it hits public air, and get it out and see, like, God, I sound like such an idiot for bringing this up. I mean, the fear and the paralyzed of fear and the shame and the loneliness and the resentments and, I get all that. Absolutely, still paralyzed with fear. But for me is I rarely stay in it. I rarely do I sit in resentment or fear. Like I'm picking up the phone a lot. I think hopefully I have unlimited minutes, because I use a lot and I just pick up the phone and, I'll call a newcomer, I'll call an old timer. It doesn't matter. Cause that's what was taught to me. And, they had me, call 5 people every single day. You couldn't call the same 5 people 2 days in a row, which is unheard of. I thought it was impossible, but, for someone that's wrapped up in self, like that was pretty much the day I got out of treatment. I already had my sponsor and he was a crabby old man. And so he had these little rules, like call 5 people every single day, make yourself available, give of yourself, volunteer somewhere. And I still do those same thing all the time. And what I would never have guessed, calling those 5 people got me in this habit of going through. And so, it's to call 5 people. Like I was just joking, like I was, someone I'm working with taking through the book. And I said, I need you to call 5 people every single day. He's like, that's impossible. There's no way you do that. And I said, it's 9 a.m. and I'm already on 7 people, so it is possible, so, and I think you're right. There's really bad days, but I come from the mindset, like, let's try to get into bad moments, not bad days, and turn it around. And, when I'm overwhelmed, I'm picking up the phone, and if they don't answer, and so people have gotten to know me pretty well. Like, if I don't leave a message, they know that they don't have to call me back, so, because I'll just go down the line. Like, I got a folder in my phone that I'll just click on, and I'll just go down the list. Boom, oh, he's not picking up. And then boom, oh, finally. And, sometimes it's 7 or 8 down the list, but, and sometimes they were like, oh, Jay, someone texted me saying that you've been calling everyone. I'm just glad it got to me. And, we can just run through it. And more often than not, it's this delusional thought, process. There's this delusional, whatever it is. Sometimes it's real, and sometimes there's really action needs to be taken. But, a lot of that fear, anxiety, depression, resentment, I know can't, if I continue letting it roll downhill, like, it's going to take over me. And so I get really scared enough that when I first start feeling it, I reach out almost, I could be in the middle of a vacation. I could be in the middle of anything. I've been in the middle of meetings with staff or clients, and sometimes, excuse myself just to kind of have this, run through my thought process and get back to being centered. So.
Wow. That is beautiful. That is beautiful, because the opposite to addiction is connection. And you are absolutely you're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Wow. That is strong. Wow. Jay, you're an amazing man. Wow.
Well, thank you. My mom agrees with you.
And please, can you give your mom a huge hug from me? Because honestly,
well,
how old is she now?
Anyway, if this is on social media or anywhere, I'm sure my mom will watch. She watches every single thing that I come across. So,
hey, Mom, I'm gonna send you my love and my energy and my gratitude for what you have done, because it's those acts of love that disarm you as an addict, disarm you as when the time is right. Such a simple act of love, a hug, can go so far, and this is beautiful. So, hate the addiction, love the addict. I think that is where we all can be there for others. And just by us being there, showing up, and maybe living a life of integrity and living a life where we show that, okay, this is the real me, warts and all, that is powerful. With that, we can lead by example. We can just show, hey, this is me on a good day. Yes, there will be bad days too, but hey, this is, if you like what you see, come along on the path. And if you want to know a little bit more, well, we have a coffee and we're going to have a chat. So no, it's brilliant. Oh, Jay. Wow. So where is Jay going? Who is Jay going to be in a year's time?
Whew. Superman, maybe. You know what? My credo to anyone that I work with is get 1% better each and every day. I mean, nice. You don't have to get 2%, 10%, 100%, because if you ask me, I want to get 100% better every single day. And when I started just saying, Jay, just do 1%, and I can do 1%. So in a year, hopefully 365% better. I mean, from where I'm at, but I just know it's going to be an incredible ride. I mean, I couldn't tell you 6 months ago where I'll be. I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, and just to have, we talked about a lot of topics. I mean, and the reaching out for help is almost villainized sometimes. Like, it's like thrown out there like you're weak and that you need to do it all on your own. And so any opportunity that I get that you're doing each and every week or all these podcasts, and we need to promote it more. We need to promote those people speaking up, and because there's people out there that still believe that I can't reach out because I need to do this all on my own. I can't cry because grown men don't cry. All these delusional myths that we've been growing up in. If you reach out for help, if you get vulnerable, it's actually the greatest sign of strength to me. And the people in long-term recovery, they're everywhere. They're not in some secret basement. They're in governments. They're in Fortune 500 companies. They're in everywhere. And so I just appreciate people like you that are going in front of a microphone and a video camera and letting people know, like, it's all right. It's all right to be you, because you're supposed to be unique and you're born an original, and it's all right to reach out for help and be that person that doesn't judge and will always take a phone call, because that's where it starts. Is be that guy that someone reaches out. Like, there's no better feeling. I pick up the phone all the time and reach out, but I still get the biggest smile on my face when someone calls me and says, "Hey Jay, do you have a second? I just want to run through my day." God, I don't care if I'm meeting the president. I probably would shush the president and go talk to this person on the phone, because I think that's the thrill. And I don't ever want to be that someone that says, like, I'm busy, call someone else. Like, there's times when, I won't pick up the phone unless I'm willing to talk. I'm never going to pick up the phone and be like, "I'm busy, I can't talk, bye." So if I pick up, I need to be fully present. I need to understand that it may be a long conversation. Nice. People, like if I'm on a date or something, and people in my life have to get used to all that. But yeah, if I pick up the phone, I know I got to be present, but keep doing what you're doing. I can't say that enough, because for a long, long time, I didn't want to reach out for help, or I thought of going to treatment was a consequence, or reaching out for help was a sign of weakness. Let's debunk those. And you're doing that each and every podcast. And so I say, keep doing it. You got a new follower, and whatever we can do together, or whatever I can do to help you out, because we need to, because we're losing people. You said it yourself with fentanyl, and we're losing people at an all-time rate. And these are young kids that their life hasn't even started, and they're making one or two bad choices, and it's ending their lives. So let's do something. I mean, let's come together as communities, and let's raise awareness. So I just thank you for raising the awareness.
Thank you very, very much, Jay. Look, if people gel with what you're saying, where can they find you? Where can they go to learn more about you?
Reach out. Sober Caddy on all social media outlets. So just type in Sober Caddy. I'm sure I'll pick up. It's a unique name. Or if you want to go to sobercaddycreativeagency.com, there's a contact form. I still get those each and every day. So it's not my assistants, not anyone. I still get a kick out of watching and reading people. So if you need any guidance, resources, just need to vent, because getting it in the public air is such, powerful thing. I would love to read it, help you. Anything on social media, Sober Caddy. I would love to reach. Just anything I can do, let's work together. And I love hearing it.
I love it. Look down there, guys, into the description of the YouTube video, or into the description of the podcast, because all the details are there. Just click on it, check him out. Maybe get in touch, because what have you got to lose? You're just one action away from changing your life. And may I say, you have already done so. You have already listened to this podcast. You have watched this video till now. Wow, you have taken massive action already. Cool. So what's the next one? What's the next step that you can take to actually keep going on that trajectory? Keep going and feeling thirsty for more, thirsty for change, thirsty for whatever the life is waiting to give to you. and there will be a lot of beautiful things waiting. So, Jay, thank you so much for being the man you are. Thank you very much for coming as a guest on my show. You made me think a lot. You made me reflect today a lot. That went deep for me, and it's beautiful. For that, I'm very, very grateful.
Well, you're an amazing soul, and I'm just a small piece. Like and subscribe to this guy's podcast. This guy is truly amazing and is making a difference. So keep doing it. And I'm just thanks for allowing me to be a small part.
Cool. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.